known for. Her sharp intelligence and observant nature reportedly noticed something amiss. She had given purses to others. The seemingly small detail ignited the fears of illicit rendezvous secret. Passages and forbidden passions right within the heart of the royal residences, specifically the Tour d'Assel Tower on the left bank of the Seine. This tower, part of the city's defensive walls, was a place where dark deeds could be hidden from prying eyes. The revelation sent shock waves through the French monarchy, still reeling from the recent death of King Philip IV. Isabella's father. Adultery, especially by a queen, was not merely a personal betrayal, it was an act of treason undermining the very legitimacy of the royal lineage. The potential for illegitimate heirs to the throne was a threat to the stability of the kingdom. The consequences for the Doron brothers were swift and brutal. They were arrested, tried, and found guilty of lèse majesté. Treason against the monarchy. Their punishment was designed to be a terrifying public spectacle, a warning to anyone who dared to challenge the king's authority or dishonor his family. They were flayed alive, castrated, disemboweled, and then beheaded, their bodies dragged through the streets of Paris before being hanged. The horror of their execution sent a chill down the spines of the nobility. For Queen Margaret, a formidable fortress and later to the Château d'Azur, her days were marked by violence, her life reduced to its former grandeur. The fate continued even behind Pearl 1315. After the scandal, death was sudden. Given her age in imprisonment, and historians since speculated that she was either strangled or otherwise deliberately killed, perhaps on the orders of her husband King Louis. After her death, timing was certainly convenient, as it allowed Louis to secure a new queen and hope for a legitimate male heir. Blanche of Burgundy faced a similar fate of imprisonment. She was also held at Château-Guillard, but unlike Marguerite, she was later permitted to take the veil as a nun at the Maubusin Abbey, where she lived out her days in religious confinement. Her reputation forever tarnished. Jean of Burgundy, despite the strong suspicions against her, was eventually acquitted due to a lack of concrete evidence and the support of her husband Philip V, who stood by her. She went on to become Queen of France when Philip ascended the throne, highlighting the capricious nature of justice in the royal court's Tassel affair had a profound impact on the Capetian dynasty, particularly concerning the succession. Louis X did have a son, John, but he died within days of his birth, earning him the moniker the Posthumous. With no clear male heir, the legitimacy surrounding Margaret's potential issue added to the instability that ultimately led to the end of the direct Capetian line and the beginning of the Vaux dynasty. The tale of Marguerite of Burgundy stands as a stark reminder of the perilous dance between desire and duty in the lives of queens, where the consequences of forbidden love could be utterly devastating. Number 9. Caroline Mathilde of Denmark. The Danish court in the mid-18th century was a place of delicate balances held together by the frail sanity of King Christian I. Born in 1751, Caroline Mathilde, Princess of Great Britain and sister of King George III, arrived in Denmark as a young bride in 1766, full of hopes for her new life as queen. Her marriage to Christian I was not a love match, and it quickly became clear that the king suffered from a severe mental illness, displaying erratic behavior, paranoia, and periods of deep melancholy. His condition made him largely unfit to rule, leaving a power vacuum at the heart of the Danish government. This unstable environment became the perfect ground for intrigue and for the rise of ambitious figures. One such figure was Jen Friedrich Sture, a German physician who initially served as Christian II's personal doctor. Sture was intelligent, Gordic, and a man of the Enlightenment, deeply interested in radical social and quickly gained the king's trust and confidence, becoming an indispensable presence at court. As Christian's mental state deteriorated, Strue's influence grew exponentially. He began to essentially rule Denmark through the king, who often signed whatever documents Stuen, which he used to push through a flurry of progressive reforms aiming to moderate of the nobility. These reforms included abolishing serfdom, ending torture, reforming the justice system, and promoting free speech, changes that were revolutionary for their time. During this period of Struensee's ascendancy, a profound and dangerous intimacy developed between him and Queen Caroline Hill, lonely and neglected by Her unstable husband, the young queen, found intellectual companionship and emotional solace in the clever physician. What began as a discreet friendship soon blossomed into a full-blown love affair. Their connection was undeniable, and it became an open secret within the court. Though fiercely denied by those who benefited from Stu's power, the affair was cemented with the birth of Princess Louise Augusta in 1771, while officially acknowledged as the king's daughter. Whispers about her true paternity circulated widely. The strong resemblance of the princess to truancy rather than the king further fueled the rumors, adding a layer of scandal to the burgeoning political drama. Struensee's radical reforms, his arrogant demeanor, and his open affair with the queen created a powerful coalition of enemies among the Danish nobility and clergy. The Dowager Queen Juliana Maria Christian, the seventh stepmother, and her son Prince Frederick, who stood to gain from Christian's removal, led the opposition. They saw Stu's power as a threat to their own influence in the traditional order of the kingdom. January 1772. On the night of January 16, the coup d'état was launched. Terini was arrested in his bedchamber, and simultaneously Queen Caroline Mathilde was taken into custody. King, easily manipulated, was persuaded to sign the arrest warrants, effectively sanctioning the downfall of his physician, and is convicted to a Swiss trial accused of usurpation of royal power and seducing the queen under duress. He confessed to the affair. His confession sealed his fate. He was found guilty of high treason and sentenced to a gruesome execution on April 28, 1772. Strui met his end on the gallows, his right hand chopped off before he was beheaded, and his body then quartered. It was a brutal end for a man who had briefly held immense power. Queen Caroline Mathilde, as a royal princess, was spared the same fate, primarily due to the diplomatic intervention of her brother King George III of Great Britain. However, she was divorced from Christian II to Celle Castle in Hanover, a German territory belonging to her brother. Children, again only corresponding with them through letters. Her life in exile was quiet and melancholic, far removed from the grandeur and intrigue of the Danish court. She spent her remaining years in quiet reflection, a queen dethroned not by war but by love. Just 23, likely from scarlet fever, her death sparked a wave of mourning among her supporters and a sense of regret for the life she might have led. The story of Caroline Mathilde and Struensee remains one of history's most poignant tales of forbidden love that shattered a monarchy and a legacy of reform. And the mid-14th century in southern Italy was a volatile cauldron of ambition, betrayal, and violence. And at its heart sat Joanna I, Queen of Naples and Countess of Provence. Born in 1326, Joanna ascended to the throne of Naples in 1343. At the tender age of 17, inheriting a kingdom riddled with political factions and dynastic rivalries. Her reign, which lasted nearly 4 decades, was defined by a series of dramatic personal entanglements, accusations of murder, and a desperate struggle to retain her crown. Joanna's first marriage, arranged for political reasons, was to her cousin Andrew of Hungary, a member of the powerful Angevine dynasty of Hungary. The marriage was deeply unhappy from the start. Andrew was reportedly boorish and ambitious, demanding to be crowned king and rule independently, a move that would diminish Joanna's own authority. Neapolitan nobles, many of whom resented Hungarian influence, opposed Andrew's demands. Tension between the young royal couple, fueled by political intrigue and personal animosity, reached a horrifying climax on the night of September 18, 1345. Andrew, still only 19 years old, was found murdered at Aversa, strangled, and then thrown from a window. His body left in the garden below. Joanna, who was pregnant at the time, was instantly implicated in the murder, though she maintained her innocence, claiming she had been asleep and unaware of the plot. Suspicion fell heavily upon her, and her inner circle rumors swirled that she had orchestrated the assassination, perhaps with the complicity of some Neapolitan nobles, to rid herself of an unwanted husband and secure her own power. Andrew's brother Louis the Great of Hungary was outraged by the murder and vowed revenge. He launched an invasion of Naples in 1347, accusing Joanna directly of regicide and seeking to depose her. This invasion forced Joanna and her second husband Louis of Taranto, whom she married in 1346, to flee to Provence. While in Provence, Joanna bravely traveled to Evan in 1348, to appear before Pope Clement V, the supreme spiritual authority of the time. In a desperate plea for her legitimacy and freedom, she underwent a public trial, presenting her case and defending herself against the accusations of Andrew's murder. Remarkably, the Pope, who had his own political interests in southern Italy, formally acquitted her of the crime, perhaps swayed by her eloquent defense and the intricate web of political alliances at play. The Pope's absolution allowed Joanna to return to Naples and reclaim her throne, albeit with her reputation forever shadowed by the murder. Joanna's life continued to be a whirlwind of marriages and political maneuvering. After Louis of Taranto died in 1362, she married James Ivth, Prince of Morca, in 1363, another alliance designed to secure her position. James died in 1375, and in 1376 she married her fourth and final husband, Otto, Duke of Brunswick. Each marriage was a strategic move, often aimed at strengthening her claim to the throne or countering the various threats that constantly emerged from within and outside her kingdom. Despite these efforts, her reign remained tumultuous. The Great Schism of the Western Church, which saw rival popes vying for power, further destabilized her realm. Joanna unwisely sided with the Evian Pope Clement IV, alienating the Roman Pope Urban VI, who was eager to assert his authority. In retaliation, Pope Urban VI declared Joanna deposed and offered her throne to her cousin Charles of Dazzio. Charles, hungry for power, invaded Naples in 1381, capturing Joanna. This time there was no escape. On May 12, 1382, Queen Joanna I was strangled in the castle of Miro Lucano, likely on Charles of Dazzio's orders, mirroring the alleged circumstances of her first husband's death. Her tragic end at the age of 56 closed the chapter on a life marked by relentless struggle for marriages and enduring accusations of murder. Joanna's story stands as a testament to a queen who fought fiercely for her power and her life in a brutal age, navigating a labyrinth of love, betrayal, and political assassination, always under the dark cloud of a death she may or may not have orchestrated. Aquitaine. Music. Eleanor of Aquitaine, born around 1122, was no ordinary medieval queen. She was a powerhouse, a duchess in her own right, who inherited one of the wealthiest and largest territories in France. Her independence and fiery spirit were legendary, often clashing with the rigid expectations of royal women in the 12th century. Her two marriages, one to the King of France and the other to the King of England, both produced significant scandal and political upheaval, cementing her reputation as one of history's most compelling and controversial queens. Her first marriage in 1137 was to Louis